People were excited because apparently JK and Lisa were seen together, at least that's what's being reported. We also have JK being tackled by a stalker and this being brought up again and what this is about. And then we also have JK getting injured and this being brought up again. So Dumplings, it's Dave Disci, let's get into it. I get so excited when I see a lot of clips start to resurface and people are talking about some older, funny, cute moments because it makes me think that I'm not the only one who thought those moments were cute and funny. This was a moment not too long ago during one of BTS's reality shows, and if you are interested in checking out some of these types of reality show moments with me, then make sure you go over to the Patreon. I'll leave a link at the top of the description. Basically, there are thousands of videos over there. There are reality show moments and some music video moments, but we fangirl, we have a great time on those moments on Patreon. So make sure you check it out. There are limited spots, but if you do sign up, you'll get access to all of the videos over there. So if you're not aware, back when VLive was still a thing, this was a website that only consists of celebrities and basically only a celebrity could sign up to live stream. And so the boys were doing their own show on the platform. In one of the scenes, we got to see them play air hockey and JK actually got severely injured, like his thumb, to the point where he was curled up in a ball. Now, it didn't seem like it was severe pain to the point where he was crying or whatever it was, but it was enough pain for him to lift his hand up and not play it anymore. The boys definitely have to be careful when doing stuff like this. And the older they get, the more these types of wounds and injuries will tend to last. An example that pretty much anyone can relate to when you're younger and you're like in your teens or whatever, you can do crazy things or crazy-ish things and you can get injured but like be okay the next day or the next week or whatever, depending on how bad it is. But as you get older, sometimes those same things could actually kill you or break your entire leg or whatever. But also some people theorize that this could be one of the reasons why the boys get injured a lot. It's actually not from the dancing or doing anything work-related, but it's from just playing around and then of course maybe even lie and say that it was work-related because it makes them look better to say that as opposed to make them look like they're being goofy. And that's how it came about. But I think something that is an important note here is this idea that no matter how much people get injured in Korea, they do provide healthcare for people, which is a plus that we all would want when we get older. We're probably going to want to have more of this. This, of course, means that you're in good hands and they're going to get the best care that they can get if they do get injured or hurt. And thus you see the boys heal pretty quickly. Fortunately, this injury didn't last very long and the overall clip that we got to see was just a glimpse of how goofy the boys get and what we can expect to see when they're on and off camera. So I think that's why people really like these clips. There was another clip that people were pointing which I thought was very interesting. And it was this clip that's centered around JK being at the airport and then being tackled for it. So if you're not aware, it's been a very long time. JK used to make airport appearances. And a lot of people will be aware of when he makes those appearances, like gather around. So if you're not sure how, the community will have their own fan pages in which they send things out and they let people know what member is going to be at the airport and what time. This information is very accessible, especially if you just reach out to the label and you ask. They typically do want people to be there. I know a lot of people in the community think that anytime an artist shows up at the airport, it's only stalkers that are there, but this is not entirely true. Now, of course, this is controversial because people also believe that the label leaking this information or by the industry allowing people to show up at the airport, it is putting the lives of the idols in danger. Now, in this particular case, JK was walking about, he was doing a turn, he was letting everyone get their pictures, and he was trying to say hi to everyone and just be kind. Then apparently you could see that the security was pushing JK along because they noticed that someone was charging towards him. People automatically jump to stalkers, and you can definitely see why, because they're assuming that someone who is running towards JK would be a security threat. There's a few things to consider here, and I like to kind of open the conversation up. First off, not everyone that appears or shows up at the airport is part of some sort of stalker program. So once you realize that, there becomes a little less of the stigma that someone running up to JK is a stalker. Now, the second thing is that just because someone is running up after being in a huge crowd and seeing their favorite idol in person, that doesn't automatically qualify them as a stalker, because you don't know what you would do in a situation if you saw a person that you had been idolizing for a really long time or had seen on camera for a really long time, and then now you're seeing them in person. One of the stories I like to bring up when people don't understand why someone would freak out or run up to someone or do something that they might not normally ever do, I bring up this story of this woman who had her kids in her house and it was burning down. Instead of grabbing her kids, who thankfully ended up being okay, I think, she grabbed a toilet seat. Like she ripped that sucker right off the toilet and she grabbed that. Now, whether this is a true story or not, I have no idea, but it's a story that my family brings up pretty often when talking about people having a strange reaction to something unexpected. Of course, our normal reaction when we're not in such a dire state of emergency is going to be okay. We need to grab our kids, we need to do this, we need to calmly exit, blah, 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 all that stuff. But when you're actually in that situation, how are you going to react? And you never know. So I hate this idea that people like to criticize or scrutinize someone for doing something that maybe if they were in their right mind, they wouldn't have normally done. And people like to then say, oh, this is a stalker that's been following JK around from this country to this country. This is their account and they're awful and they've done a bunch of awful things. How do you know that? Most of these accounts, the alleged stalker is not actually showing their face. No one is actually being present in that account. So how do you know where the stalker is, who they are, and where they're coming from? Now, switching gears a little bit, there has been a rise of AI content. I don't want to share any specific channel or any specific pages, so I'm not going to say any names or anything like that. This is probably one of the only ones that actually is like more of a recent story. But basically, if you are not aware, there are a lot of channels out there, especially nowadays, where it's kind of what I consider an AI channel. What does this mean? So I believe you can just go into an AI software, tell them what story you would like to come up with, or if you just even simply write in a prompt for the AI to generate. And the prompt is something along the lines of, I want to create a story that may not be real, but will garner a lot of attention. You can then almost get these like outlandish stories where it's like V and Jisoo dating or making out, and or in this case, JK and Lisa. And all the photos and the effects and all that stuff in the video, that's all AI generated too. So they'll grab images from the internet or AI, put it together, and bam, you have a video that was created in probably like an hour. Whereas a video like even just what I'm doing right now takes like 5, 6, sometimes 8 hours to do. However, one of the things that they lack is that the story isn't real, and they are presenting stories that actually did not happen, and they're not presenting images that go along with the story. So sometimes you can tell it's more of an AI generated video if the images don't always align with what's being reported. And for channels that provide the correct information but maybe don't have images that align, I'm not talking about that because those are clearly well researched or looked into. But I'm talking about those pages where it's very clear that this is not the person or a person behind it. Even the voice that we hear is not human, or it just sounds like a computer generated. One of the stories that was recently posted was a story of fans visiting the cafe while JK was having a break from the military. So the military, for the most part, is like a 9 to 5. They do get breaks, and I believe they have some sort of weekend. So that part of the story is very plausible, right? Like during their off time, they can definitely go to a cafe near the camp. There are probably fans who see that and are very excited to see JK there. Now, the part that I believe this story adds on was this idea that Lisa walked into the cafe and they sat and chatted together and it seemed like they were in a romantic relationship together. This would be very interesting. While definitely not impossible, but it would be very interesting to see the two interact and meet each other while JK's in the military, because I don't believe there's an actual reason to meet each other. Like the likelihood of this happening if V and Jenny were dating is probably a bit higher, but I don't know if that's true, and neither do I know if Lisa and JK being in a relationship together is true. One of the ways you can also tell that it's more of an AI video is when you start to see them talk about JK and Lisa together at a cafe, but not actually see those images. And that's exactly what we're talking about here. We're not seeing those images. We're not seeing the evidence that they claim. Let me know what you think. Make sure to check out Fiverr for more videos. Link down below. Thanks for the commentary. Love you. Bye.